is a mere arithmetical computation. We go by the percentages fixed by law.
Yes, Your Honor.
So despite the percentages fixed by law, you know, the actual amount, it's just a computation. So does it mean that Congress is not following the percentages prescribed by law?
Your Honor, in the past years, Your Honor, based on the NEP, it is carried, Your Honor, in the General Appropriations Act.
You know, my question is very clear.
Yes, po.
I'm talking about the percentages fixed by law under Section 37. My impression from your statement is that despite the percentages already fixed by law, the Congress, you still need to negotiate with Congress for the actual percentages that may be included in the GAA for the subsidy of Philhealth. Is that the reality on the ground?
Yes, Your Honor. We tried to defend the proposal of the corporation.
All right. Yes, well taken. So now I proceed from where we left off last Tuesday. I would like to finish with COA's basis for disclaimer of opinion issued in 2022. Attorney Cuevas, can you help us again? Read into the records.
The faithful representation of the provision for health benefits incurred but not reported account with year-end balance of 95.099 billion pesos is doubtful due to significant risks of misstatement resulting from unexpended balances of accrued liabilities between 2018 and 2021, ranging from 808 billion pesos to 37.722 billion pesos, which runs counter to the required fair and faithful presentation of financial transactions as outlined in the Philippine Accounting Standards and the Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes, please continue.
In addition, there are other issues that further compromise the accuracy of the account, which include letter A, the absence of a well-defined policy on the proper accounting of prior years in course of settlement or ICS claims, resulted in the failure to assess the reasonableness of the unexpected balance of ICS from prior years, amounting to 17.161 billion pesos. And letter B, presence of irregularities in the calendar year 2022 admissions, including 1, 6,798 claims amounting to 63.985 million pesos from 3,380 unique Philhealth identification numbers or PINs, but different member names. 2, 710 claims amounting to 6.388 million pesos from 355 members with 2 different PINs, and 3, 1,583 claims amounting to 4.632 million pesos with irregular or incomplete entries/data due to the absence of system controls. These issues increase the risk of misstatement of the account, hence cannot be considered to have represented fairly the subject transactions as required under the Philippine Accounting Standards. The reliability of the financial liabilities account with a year-end balance of 3.349 billion pesos is doubtful due to the presence of 94,625 claims amounting to 1.450 billion pesos that were returned to healthcare institutions or HCIs beyond the 60-day turnaround time prescribed by the National Health Insurance Act. In addition, 664 claims amounting to 3.649 million pesos were found to have irregular entries or data which do not accurately represent the actual transactions required under the Philippine accounting standards. The absence of a well-defined policy and sufficient controls to regulate these transactions poses a significant risk of unreliable balances, unsettled liabilities, and decreased operational efficiency in the processing and payment of claims.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Senior Vice President, according to you, during the last oral argument at a certain cut-off period, Philhealth has settled all its obligations, hence is left with no unpaid obligations for that certain cut-off period. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I cannot recall that saying that one, Your Honor. But my statement, Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, in any certain given cut-off date, Philhealth still have a payable to the hospital, meaning claims will be processed, but claims will also enter the Philhealth system for processing, Your Honor.
So those that enter the system of Philhealth are the approved claims?
Not yet,
Yes,
Your Honor.
not yet.
Because it will be submitted to Philhealth, received by Philhealth, and will be processed by Philhealth, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right. Now, how reliable are the numbers, or were the numbers you reported in your financial report?
Your Honor, when we talk about reliability, Your Honor, we are trying to come up with a fair
Yes.
presentation of the FS, Your Honor.
Yes, but
and we received 15 million claims, if may, Your Honor, 15 million claims per year, Your Honor. And of course, on the 15 million claims, Your Honor, makikita ho natin that there are some claims that has found out by COA that has some needs to be rectified, Your Honor.
Yes, so you do not challenge the finding of COA that Philhealth lacks sufficient controls to keep track of its transactions.
Your
Yes,
Honor, we are,
thus increasing the risk for unsettled liabilities.
Your Honor, we are addressing the findings of COA, Your Honor, to put controls and change the process of recording, Your Honor. And Your Honor, we have this program right now, the FinMare program, Your Honor, that proper way of recording of our benefit claims, Your Honor, in our books of accounts, Your Honor.
So this observation of COA is accurate.
Your Honor, we confirm, Your Honor, that findings of the Commission on Audit, Your Honor.
So because of this, the numbers indicated in your financial statements cannot be completely relied upon.
Your Honor, the reliability, Your Honor, depending on the materiality of the findings, Your Honor. So again, as I mentioned, Your Honor, we have 15 million claims in a year, amounting to nearly 150 billion pesos, Your Honor.
So it means that Philhealth is not capable of processing all the claims that are filed with it in a given year.
Your Honor, you're correct, Your Honor, because as I mentioned, Your Honor, claims come into the Philhealth for processing and claims will be paid. But as of certain given times, say for instance, December 31, Your Honor, there are still claims unprocessed or unprocessed, Your Honor, given that Philhealth has given
Yes.
60 days to process a claim, Your Honor.
You cannot cope up with 15 million claims
Your Honor,
yearly.
Your Honor, if saying to zero out the claims as of a given date, Your Honor, it is impossible, Your Honor. Given again, in any given period, Your Honor, claims pumapasok sa sistema ng PhilHealth for
But
processing, Your
all
Honor.
these claims are coming from people who are sick, who need urgent
Nangyari na.
financial assistance to settle their hospital bills.
Wala,
These
di ka una sa
people, many
buhaya.
of them are fighting for their lives in the
Pinamudmud na
hospitals.
sa ayuda.
Perhaps all 15 million claims filed with your office.
Your
Yes.
Honor, the claims is being filed by the health facilities, Your Honor. In other words, the hospital received the document from the patient, and the hospital or the health facilities be the one to submit the claims to PhilHealth, Your Honor. Again, I would like to mention, Your Honor, that PhilHealth has given 60 days to process the claims, Your
Yes,
Honor.
and according also to the findings of COA, the 60-day run-around period has not been complied with.
Your Honor, there are instances, Your Honor, that claims filed paid beyond 60 days, Your Honor. But, Your Honor, I would like to state, Your Honor, that majority of the claims, majority or
Majority.
I have the figures, Your Honor.
Yes, we'll see
I just
about
want to see that one.
Now, let us go to your 2023 financial statement.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's
Wala,
very
inubos na yung
important
pera.
that we
Kinamudmud na.
become aware of your financial standing, your status. For these 3 years, 21, 22, 20, because it is from these years that the 89 billion was charged, was collected, and transferred to the National Treasury, 69.9.
Oh.
Had not
Kinamudmud na yung
the last
pera.
tranche been restrained. All right. So we flash on the screen the 2023 financial statement of PhilHealth. In 2023, the COA reported that the total assets of PhilHealth amounted to 588 billion plus. The total liabilities amounted to 1.2 trillion plus. Out of 1.2 trillion plus, 1.14 trillion plus represented PhilHealth's insurance contract liabilities. Based on these numbers coming from COA, PhilHealth had a negative equity of 663 billion plus in 2023. Per independent auditor's report dated September 11, 2024, or just 6 months ago, the COA issued a qualified opinion, which means that this time, at least partially, PhilHealth's financial statements present fairly in all material aspects the financial position of PhilHealth as of December 31, 2023, and its financial performance. But for the rest of the financial statements, COA issued a qualified opinion.
Patay.
So may I again request Attorney Cuevas, please don't get tired, Attorney Cuevas, to read the pertinent portions of COA's independent auditor's report.
Nahirapan na sila pagsagot
The faithful representation in the financial statements for insurance contract liabilities or ICL amounting to 1.150 trillion pesos and 266.873 billion pesos for calendar years 2023 and 2022 respectively cannot be ascertained due to the following factors. Letter A, the completeness and accuracy of the claims and premium data cannot be established, casting doubt on the reliability of the reported figures. Letter B, the evaluation of the calendar year 2023 actuarial evaluation report intended to assess the adequacy of the ICL revealed inconsistencies and irregularities that affect its reliability and validity to third parties.
Dapat
Letter
bitayin yan
C,
si
the use of different
Martin
measurement bases for provision for diminishes the comparability of information in the financial statements, hindering the users from making informed economic decisions. And letter D, the absence of reasonableness test on expense loading further undermines the reliability of the ICL account in the financial statements, which are inconsistent with Philippine accounting standards, Philippine Financial Reporting Standard, and revised conceptual framework for financial reporting. Unquote.
Thank you, Attorney Cueva. So in fine, again, 1.15 trillion plus ICL for 2023 was misstated according to COA. And more likely than not, if correctly reported, would have been bigger. So Attorney Cuevas, please continue reading the COA's report.
And I quote, the presentation and disclosures of provisions and contingencies are not in compliance with the minimum requirements of the Philippine accounting standards due to the following issues. Letter A, provisions and contingent liabilities for appealed benefit claims are not adequately presented or disclosed in the financial statements due to an insufficient monitoring and reporting mechanism, resulting in the misstatement of accrued benefit claims, payable and provision for health benefits incurred but not reported by an unidentified amount. And letter B, contingent assets arising from outstanding legal cases are improperly disclosed in the notes to financial statements due to the lack of policy on specific classification criteria for estimating the outcome of the inflow of economic benefits. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Cuevas. I cannot thank you enough. According to COA, there are multiple unreported transactions. Hence, we can say that if all the transactions were reported, the total liabilities of COA would have been significantly greater than the reported figure. In some, COA was saying that the records made available to it pertaining to the reported transactions being incomplete cannot be the basis of an accurate audit of the total liabilities of Philhealth, because again, there are numerous unreported transactions. So for the last time, Attorney Cuevas, may I request you to read the other observations of COA.
In preparing the financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the Philhealth's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing, as applicable, matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the Philhealth or to cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you again. Right. So, Mr. Senior Vice President, yes. Are you also a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or architect?
Your Honor, I am not a lawyer. I am a certified public accountant and has a doctorate degree in human resource, Your Honor.
How long have you been with Philhealth?
Your Honor, this is my 23rd years with Philhealth, Your Honor.
So you have the you're the institutional memory of Philhealth. You should be preserved.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Your Honor.
So, my question is, based on these COA reports, do you think Philhealth still has the ability to continue as a going concern without aid from the national government?
Your Honor, Philhealth is a government-owned and controlled corporation, and Philhealth can continuously implement this program, can operate, Your Honor, even, as you mentioned, Your Honor, without a subsidy from the national government, Your Honor. Of course, the subsidy of the national government is very important, Your Honor, for the expansion of benefits, and of course the expansion of beneficiaries already given by Republic Act 11223, Your Honor.
Are you telling the court that never has the national government rescued Philhealth?
Your Honor,
When it comes to its inability, supposed inability to meet or pay all its liabilities, the government never came to the rescue of Philhealth?
Your Honor, hindi pa naman ho dumating sa...
Hindi pa dumating sa puntong yun.
Yes,
Ano
Your
pala
Honor.
ang narating natin?
Your Honor,
Patay ka.
PhilHealth continuously
Agree.
implement its program.
Agree.
And our board, of which kasama po the national government, we have the DBM, we have the Department of Finance, and other government agencies, Your Honor, looking into the operations of
Yes,
the
so
corporation.
no need to negotiate with the national government on subsidy because you are self-sufficient.
Your Honor, on the self-sufficiency, Your Honor, again, the National Health Insurance Program, Your Honor, will be expanded, and the universal health care will be attained once mayroon ho, of course, subsidy from the national government, Your Honor.
So you will still depend. And up to now, you are depending.
Yes, po.
From the very start, you have been depending on the national government subsidy,
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
All right. So without the national government subsidy, would you have collapsed?
Your Honor, if the expansion of benefit
Nabuko.
Made in the year 2024, Your Honor,
Galing na sa
ma-implement
bibig mo,
natin
nabuko na.
tuloy-tuloy, Your Honor. Of course, kailangan natin ng national government subsidy, Your Honor.
So
Agree.
we're looking forward, moving forward.
Yes, Your Honor.
But where you are standing now, your situation now, the present financial status of PhilHealth, do you need rescue from the national government?
Your Honor, the status of the financial of PhilHealth right now, Your Honor, enough to cover the year 2025 operations, Your Honor.
Oath,
Yes, Your Honor.
yes. All right. That opinion,
Your Honor, that is based on the financial record, Your Honor.
even with the findings of COA, you will still insist that you're financially sound,
Yes, Your Honor.
even without government subsidy.
Your Honor, again, kailangan talaga yung government subsidy.
Kailangan.
But
So,
of course,
kung walang government subsidy, nasaan ang PhilHealth?
Your Honor, still in the year 2025, we operating PhilHealth, Your Honor, based on the programs
Wala,
that we are
hanapan na ng
implementing
pira,
right now,
saan
Your
ang
Honor.
pira?
Yes,
again,
and these programs are funded in full.
In the year 2025, Your Honor, available po yung pondo po natin, Your Honor.
Nasaan yung pondo? Binigay na ba sa inyo ng treasury?
Your Honor, on existing funds of the corporation, Your Honor, our investable fund as of December 31, 2024.
You know, my problem with your existing funds is this.
Patay
You
na.
always do not
Nabuko talaga sila.
consider
Wala. Mga
the
sinungaling
funds
talaga.
that should cover the reserve funds. That is my problem.
Yan.
Even though
Makukulong na
the
dyan si
command of
Martin
Section
Romualdez.
11 is for the reserve funds to be set aside. And when you set aside the reserve funds, it means it's real money. It's not just abstract. It's just not numbers. Because anytime the risk will become reality. That is my problem. Because you always do not recognize yet the funds that should cover the reserve funds.
Your Honor, if may I, Your Honor, and every year, Your Honor, we have the corporate operating budget, Your Honor. And this corporate operating budget, Your Honor, mayroon siyang kaakibat na corporate revenue as well. Kumbaga, may pumapasok na revenue. In the year 2024, Your Honor, our corporate revenue enough or more than enough to cover the expenditures, Your Honor.
Expenditures, how about the reserve funds? The formula under section 11 is this, right? Total revenues less expenditures. And the balance, that is where you will get your reserve funds.
Your Honor,
And your reserve funds, the amount should depend on the actuarial valuation for 2 years. Correct?
Your Honor, if may I, on the part of the accumulated revenue that we have, Your Honor, we set aside the reserve fund. Set aside na siya. Then,
Wala
in
na
the...
talaga.
What did you say
Nagkahirap-hirap
again,
na sa
please?
pagsagot.
Na-set aside po natin. From the accumulated revenue.
So you are reversing the process prescribed by law?
Ayan.
Not necessarily, Your Honor.
That is what you were saying.
Ayan.
Oh, reserve na agad siya.
Ayan.
Hindi ba dapat accumulated revenues less expenditures?
Ayan.
And then the total, the balance, that is where you get your reserve funds. And your reserve funds must correspond to the actuarial estimate.
Your Honor, mayroon ho tayong revenue that, of course, projected for a year. In that revenue, Your Honor, yun po ang ginagamit po din natin in sourcing out the expenditures po of the year. Meaning, the operation of the corporation for, say for instance, year 2025, much more dependent din pati siya, Your Honor, on the revenue po natin expected to be received for that particular year, Your Honor. So, ganun po siya, recognizing the revenue.
Ganun po siya.
And then, of course, the estimated expenditures po.
And then the balance
Yung-
will go to the reserve funds.
We'll go to the accumulated revenue, Your Honor, or the surplus that we have.
All right.
Yes po.
Okay. May I proceed to the next question?
Yes po, Your Honor.
So, did the transfer of 69.9 billion to the National Treasury make PhilHealth an economically viable guarantor of the people's access to quality
Dapat
and
pasagutin
affordable
dyan si
health care and protection against
Pangbalundong.
financial risk?
Nasana kaya si...
Your Honor, the amount transferred to,
Can you just please go direct to the point? Yes or no?
sorry, Your Honor. Again, Your Honor, 60 billion pa lang po na transfer po natin.
Pa lang.
Opo.
Konti lang, no?
60 billion po.
All
Not
right,
89
60
po.
billion,
Opo.
not 69.
Yes po.
Ilan ba gusto nating i-transfer?
It is estimated, Your Honor.
All right, so
89.
what is your short answer to my short question?
Your Honor, sorry, Your Honor. PhilHealth's nag-operate si PhilHealth po, Your
Yes,
Honor, in the year
did
2024.
it help PhilHealth's financial condition? Did it upgrade your financial level when you transferred the 60 billion to the National Treasury?
Your Honor, despite the transfer, Your Honor, PhilHealth's investable fund from 498 in December 2023 and versus December 2024, Your Honor, of 492 billion.
So what is your answer? No or
Your
yes?
Honor,
Yes or no?
Your Honor, very sorry, Your Honor. Your Honor, PhilHealth operates the program, Your Honor, expanding the benefit payment.
All right.
Tumaas pa
So
siya.
I will go to my next
Pinagluluko lang
question.
tayo. Ito pong administrasyon.
Did the transfer of this amount to the National Treasury reduce the deficit of Philhealth in the amount of 663 billion plus in 2023?
Your Honor, if you are talking...
Just a straight answer,
Baboy,
Mr. Senior Vice President.
I'm
Ayun.
sorry, Your Honor.
Yes.
Apology po. Of course, Your
Palitoy pa
Honor,
more.
the 60 billion that we transferred
Yes
reduces...
or no?
Yes or no? Likoy-likoy pa
My
more.
question is so simple and it is
Sagutin mo na.
answerable only by yes or no.
Yan.
Your Honor, it reduces, Your Honor.
It reduces the deficit even though, yes, did I hear it
Yes
right?
or no lang. Sagutin mo
Your
na.
transfer of
Para
60
mabita yan si Martin
billion to
Romualdez.
the National Treasury reduced your deficit.
Your Honor,
Ah.
I think baliktad sa Your Honor.
Yes or no?
Because it reduces our accumulated revenue. And of course, kung sa total members equity, Your Honor,
Ay.
tumaas pa siya, Your
Ang
Honor.
hirap.
You know, Mr. Senior Vice President, I really appreciate you.
Agoy.
Thank you very much. Your excuse.
Wala na.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nahirapan na sa pagsagot.
Chief Justice, thank you very much.
Patay. Mabitay
Thank you,
ulit yan
Justice
si, ano,
Javier.
si Tambaluslos.
May we call on Justice Antonio po for his interpretation. Thank you, Chief. Can anybody answer questions on Philhealth, please? Government Corporate Council? Masura, please.
Mayayari kayo dyan. Kaya mga tao magnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan.
Happy to answer your questions, Your Honor.
Okay, let us go to Section 11 again, the most popular provision in this discussion. Okay, Section 11 provides for what is known as a Program Reserve Fund. Before going to the details, can you give me the significance of providing a reserve fund for Philhealth? What is the importance of having a reserve fund for Philhealth?
As I understand, Your Honor, it's like a contingent fund.
A contingent fund for what purpose?
To address the possible lack of funding in the future.
So, would you agree with me that the higher reserve fund you have, the more secure Philhealth will be?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. But at the same time, the law provides a mechanism so that
Within the mechanism provided for the actuarial.
yes, there's also a mechanism so that the managers of Philhealth do not become so conservative. So they cannot fix a reserve fund beyond the ceiling. There's a ceiling imposed by Section 11, Your Honor.
Okay, now let's go to Section 11. Section 11 speaks of accumulated revenues. It also speaks of reserve fund. It also speaks of current year expenditures. Can you define to me these terms?
Right now, Your Honor, there is an office order issued by the Philhealth President in 2012 where accumulated revenues is defined to mean the accumulated income of Philhealth. So it refers to the results of the operation of Philhealth in past years.
When you speak of accumulated income, that is net of expenditures for that particular year?
Yes, Your Honor. So it's
Okay.
net.
So if it is net, this Section 11 speaks of reserve fund to be taken from the accumulated revenues. And there's a formula under Section 11 wherein you determine the reserve fund.
it says, Section 11 says, the reserve fund, a portion of the accumulated revenues can be set aside as reserve fund, but which shall not exceed the ceiling, which is the actuarially estimated expenditures for the next 2 years.
Okay. Is it possible that the reserve fund will exceed as computed by the actuarial formula more than the accumulated revenues?
It is possible, Your Honor, but under that office order that I mentioned earlier, the reserve fund is always set as equal to the ceiling or lower than the ceiling.
Okay. The reserve fund under Section 11 is by virtue of the Universal Health Care Act, which was passed in 2019. Are you saying that prior to 2019, there is no concept of reserve fund by Philhealth?
No, there is already a concept, Your Honor. The concept of reserve fund was actually taken from the Universal Health Insurance Act, which was passed earlier. I think that was in 1995.
Okay. Now,
Yes, 1995.
the prior to Universal Healthcare Act of 2019, you said that there's already a concept of reserve fund.
Yes,
Is-
that's in Section 27 of the National Health
Yes.
Insurance Act.
Is there a
of 19.
formula on how you determine the reserve fund prior to 2019?
No, the Section 27 of the National Health Insurance Act also says that from the accumulated revenues, a portion can be set aside as reserve fund, Your Honor.
What I mean is the a 2-year actuarial computation.
That
The ceiling.
That is the ceiling, yes.
Is that also present prior to 2019?
That is also in the law prior to 2019, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, for 2024, how much was the reserve fund?
2024. I think the board approved a reserve fund of 280 billion, Your Honor. 80 billion, more or less.
280 billion.
Yes. And
At the time, how much was the accumulated revenues?
I know it's more than like almost 500 billion.
The accumulated revenues.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this 500 billion net of the reserve fund already? Is this net of the reserve fund?
The 500 billion revenue? No,
Yes.
no, Your Honor. So
sorry.
the total accumulated revenue was around 500 billion, and then out of that 500 billion, 280.60 billion was set aside as reserve fund.
Okay.
So that left the 500 billion minus the 280 billion. That difference is the fund balance.
The fund balance.
But
Okay.
of that fund balance, which is like more than 200 billion, only 89.88 billion was required by the Department of Finance to be remitted by.
Okay, let's go to that later. Now, the 280 billion that is mentioned as the reserve fund of Philhealth, who determines that?
It's determined by the Philhealth Board, of course, but there is a recommendation from management, Your Honors.
Meaning, management probably computed by your Office of Actuary that could compute for the 2 years?
Yeah,
What is the basis of the
management makes a recommendation and the Philhealth Board approves, Your Honor.
Okay, how much was the recommendation made by the management of the Philhealth for purposes of reserve fund for 2024?
Oh, no. I have no info on that, Your Honor.
Can anybody from Philhealth office or department answer this? Actually, please.
Oh. I have numbers here. I was provided numbers, Your Honors, but I think it doesn't respond to your question as to the number proposed by management. I think
Proposed
that's what-
by the actuary and if adopted by management and submitted to the board.
Well, the actuary only recommends, Your Honors.
Yes, but I want to know how much the actuary computed that the ceiling corresponding the 2 years projected program expenditures.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Can I get your name, please?
Nerissa Santiago, the Acting Senior Vice President for the Actuarial Services and Risk Management Sector, Your Honor.
I'll repeat the question. For 2024, did you make any computation on the reserve fund, the ceiling, the ceiling corresponding to 2 years projected program expenditure for purposes of determination of the reserve fund?
Yes, Your Honor. During the December 31, 2023, we had a 2-year projected program expenditure set at 560 billion. That was the projected program expenditures for 2024 and 2025.
That was determined end of 2023.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
So this 560
Billion.
billion is the ceiling corresponding to 2 years projected program expenditures.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
After determining the 560 billion, what happened for purposes of looking at adoption by the board of the reserve fund?
That 560 billion is a part of the footnotes in the financial statement and is, I'm not sure if it was included in the presentation, but it is part of the financial statement, Your Honor.
Okay, apparently, as explained by earlier, this 560 billion that you recommended was reduced to 280 billion.
Yes, that's
Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, why only, Mr. Counsel, why only 50%? 280 is 50% of 560. Why only 50% of the recommended amount did the board adopted as the reserve fund?
Actually, Your Honors, as you can see from section 11, the requirement of actuarial estimate is only required for the ceiling,
Yes.
not the reserve fund. So, where the actuary participated here was in setting the ceiling.
Yes, but you said earlier, you have 220 billion excess. Your expenditures is accumulated revenues is 500 billion. The reserve fund is 280, and you still have 220 billion free funds. Why did the board merely agree or set the reserve fund 50% of the recommended amount?
Depends pa more.
The board has that discretion, Your Honor, to review the data and set the reserve fund to, and or even
Yan
the
ang
ceiling
tinatawag ko po
to
mga
reasonable
kababayan
levels.
na depends pa more.
Yeah.
Okay, now, earlier it was mentioned that the reserve fund for 2024 was, as recommended, was determined on the last day of 2023. Am I correct? Yes. Now, when did the board adopted the reserve fund for 2024 in the amount of 280 billion? Was it supposed to be the beginning of the year of 2024 or any time as long as it is within the year 2024? Is there a board?
Your Honors, may I surmise an opinion, or I don't know how they call it. I think this is in response to the GAA provision and the DLF circular when the discussion on the 280 was discussed in the board, Your Honor.
No, you mentioned that you made a recommendation in the end of 2023 that the reserve fund for 2024 should be 560B, right? And I presume the board were sufficiently informed of this amount. When did the board of PhilHealth acted upon this amount to determine that the reserve fund should only be 280 billion? There should be at least a board resolution that would say the reserve fund of PhilHealth is 280 billion.
I think the board acted around middle of last year, Your Honor. But yeah. By the way, previous to that, Your Honor, the board did not really, as I understand, I'm not really part of the management of PhilHealth, but the board never really formalized any level of reserve fund. So they simply followed an office order that was issued in 2012, where they set the reserve fund equal to.
Did I hear it right that the board did not actually made a reservation for purposes of this reserve fund?
No, in the past, Your Honor. But this is an info I'm getting from the board staff of PhilHealth, Your Honor. But the board meeting for new reserve fund that was approved was held May 8, 2024.
Can you provide us with the necessary documents to show probably board resolution that on May 8, 2024, the PhilHealth board adopted a reserve fund in the amount of 280 billion?
We'll do that, Your Honor.
Can I get that commitment?
Yes, certainly, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, when the 560 billion, you computed it, you base this on 2 years projected expenditures, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And on that basis, you came up with 560B.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And on that basis also, on May 8, the PhilHealth board adopted a reserve fund 50% as you recommended.
As stated, Your Honor.
Now, let us go to, it was mentioned earlier that the amount requested by the Department of Finance, 89.9 billion, that was when it was sent to you, that you need to transmit this amount. How did you go about it in PhilHealth? Was it immediately approved by PhilHealth? Did you have a discussion? What I mean is, under the GAA, it speaks of a reserve fund, right? Chapter GAA 2024, it speaks of reserve fund. In Section 11 of the Universal Healthcare also speaks of a reserve fund. Are these concepts the same or different from each other?
I think the reserve fund under the Universal Healthcare Act, Your Honor, has its own definition in the law.
Yes. In fact, under the Section 11, the reserve fund shall not exceed a ceiling equivalent to the amount actuarially estimated for 2 years projected program expenditures. So therefore, looking forward. But in the GAA, the reserve fund must be reduced to a reasonable level, taking into account disbursement from prior years. So therefore, the reserve fund under the GAA speaks of expenditures for prior years. So it speaks, these two concepts are different.
No, not really different, Your Honor.
Why do you say that?
You look at your past needs to, in a way, have a good guess of your future needs.
Again,
So you look at you look at your expenditures in the past to have a good estimate of your expenditures in the future.
yes, that is the reserve fund for Philhealth. You determine that by taking into consideration expenses projected for the next 2 years, which is necessarily, from experience, higher than expenditures for the past prior years. So therefore, the amounts for reserve fund, if you compute it under the Philhealth, would be vastly different from the amount of reserve fund under the GAA. In that case, my question now is, how did you compute the amount if there are two different bases in determining the amount to be remitted to the Department of Finance?
I know they took the rolling 2-year average of the expenditures in the past, was it 5 years, Your Honor, from 2018 to 2023. They took the average of the rolling past 2 years.
Okay, now, when the GAA was passed, this provision on fund balance and the reserve fund, I'll read it to you. Fund balance of GOCCs from any remainder resulting from the review and reduction of that reserve fund to reasonable levels, taking into account the disbursement from prior years. So, under the GAA, they have to determine a reserve fund, right? And the reserve fund is determined by taking into consideration expenses for prior years, right? Okay. Now, when DOF sent you a request to send the money, 89.9 billion, how did you interpret this provision in the GAA vis-a-vis your own concept of reserve fund under Section 11?
The Philhealth, I know, has a manual of governance, Your Honor. So they went through a process pursuant to that manual. So one of the factors they considered is their absorptive capacity to spend. And that was based on the past years. I think they took the period from 2018 to 2023.
Who computed the amount of 89.9 billion?
That was the request from DOF, Your Honors.
Yes, precisely. So, was it from DOF that the amount of 89.9 billion came from?
I believe so, Your Honor. After they have determined that 89.9 billion is outside the reserve fund. It will come from the fund.
Can I get somebody from DOF to explain to the court how this 89.9 billion came from?
Your Honors, Deputy Treasurer Ed Marina from the Bureau of the Treasury, representing the Secretary of Finance in the Board of Philhealth. The question is the calculation of the 89.9 billion.
How did you determine the 89.9 billion?
That is the unutilized subsidies as reflected in the unutilized government subsidies of PhilHealth for the years 2021 until 2023 as reflected in the financial statements of those years, Your Honor.
What do you mean by unutilized subsidy?
So in every year, Your Honor, from 2021 to 2023, there is a premium subsidy that was recorded in the financial statements of PhilHealth coming from the national government. And correspondingly, the accounting systems of PhilHealth can track the beneficiaries, the indirect contributor beneficiaries, where these subsidies must be used for. And we simply subtracted for each year the difference between the premium subsidies and the benefit expenses for indirect contributors.
So, since you contributed this much for 2021, 2022, 2023 representing subsidy from indirect contributors, those that were unspent or were not spent were taken back. That's what you're saying?
That is the basis of the 89.9 billion, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, however, under the GAA, this 89.9 billion, you would definitely tell me that this is part of the fund balance.
Yes, Your Honor. The 89.9 billion is part of the balance which is on top of the reserves, the reasonable reserves, Your Honor.
Yes. But under the circular, Department Circular 003-2024, there were guidelines that were provided for determining fund balance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you tell me where in these guidelines or what were the basis? Because in determining fund balance, it said here in 4.3, the reasonable level of reserve fund shall be computed by the DOF on a case-by-case basis, considering the following factors. It enumerated the factors, and I presume you know these factors. Now, you mentioned to me earlier that the amount 89.9 billion represents the balance of the subsidy. Where in these guidelines or basis was the basis for taking up 89.9 representing this unspent subsidy?
Your Honor, I believe those one of the considerations highlighted there is the ability, is actually the spending capacity of PhilHealth, both in the past and the projected expenditures. So that is the primary basis. That is why we took a look at the financial statements of PhilHealth. Moreover, the fund balance takes the form of cash in bank, and other investment securities. So that's the form included in the circular, Your Honor.
Yes, but I went through this 4.3. I do not see the basis for taking the subsidy, the unspent subsidy, as the 89.9 billion. Do you have a copy of Department Circular?
Your Honor, if I may just get a copy. Sir, if I may, Your Honor,
Go ahead.
letter A of 4.3 states here historical performance, including the absorptive capacity, which presents the actual financial performance versus the approved budget, regular and recurring operating expenses, including non-cash expenses, the legal claims and obligations, etc. Unutilized, number K, unutilized subsidies and fund transfers for programs and projects, Your Honor.
So, by taking the unspent subsidy, you're referring to A and B?
Okay. So, the unutilized subsidy specifically is in K, 4.3K, Your Honor.
4.3K.
Yes.
Okay. So it refers to when you took the 89 point, when DFS requested the 89.9, it represents the unutilized subsidies.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you speak of subsidies that were given to Philhealth on 2021, 22, and 2023, why do you consider that unutilized? Because Philhealth is a going concern. And in fact, I understand for 2025, no subsidy was allotted to Philhealth. So why would you consider it to be unutilized subsidy?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may. Number one, for the past years, even for the years 2021, 2022, and 2023, Philhealth consistently receives premium subsidies in the GAA. It was the case in 2024. They were allocated about 40 billion in the 2024 GAA, and in 2025, the executive proposed, I think, in the NEP of about 80 billion in subsidies. So the reason, Your Honor, is because consistently the government, when DOF computed or evaluated the fund balance, the national government has demonstrated the capacity, the willingness to continuously provide subsidies to PhilHealth. And of course, the mechanism in Section 37, the last paragraph, says that the DOH and PhilHealth can provide the necessary, can request the subsidies to help it achieve the goals of the Universal Healthcare Act. So it's a continuous flow, Your Honor.
Yes, precisely. So the fact that PhilHealth could not spend this amount for benefits and the national government will take this amount to fund unprogrammed expenditures, the fault is on PhilHealth for not spending this. It is not for the government to take this away and for PhilHealth to expand its program so that the subsidies that were allocated by government for healthcare should not be taken away. Instead of directing the DOF, the national government, directing PhilHealth, oy PhilHealth, gastusin niyo ito para sa taong bayan, kinuha ninyo at binigay sa iba. This is precisely the meat of this case. So, why is PhilHealth therefore not expanding their benefits and programs that would approximate the subsidies that were given to them
Tama.
to answer for the health benefits of our people?
Hindi mo naman talaga na pwede
Your
transfer.
Honor, if I may.
Kasi para yun sa kalusugan.
This is of course based on the discussions with management and my experience in the deliberation of the board. But fundamentally, PhilHealth faces structural absorptive capacity issue. What does that mean? The benefits, expansion of benefits is only one part of the equation. To accomplish the objectives of the Universal Healthcare Act, we need, the national government also needs to address what we term as the supply side constraints, supply side issues. So ano po ba ito, Your Honor? So number one, the insufficiency of the compensation for our healthcare workers or healthcare professionals. Number two, hospitals, healthcare facilities. Even if there is even if benefit expansions occur, if there is no hospital within the vicinity of a specific beneficiary, particularly an indigent beneficiary, then they will not be able to avail of these expanded benefits. So there needs to be the supply side constraints. And of course, in addition to the direct health supply side health constraints, so yung hospitals po, yung medical equipment, and of course the personnel, the health care workers, you also have the WHO also has this term called the social determinants of health. The other things that help outcomes. So what are these?
Sorry, these things that you mentioned, absorptive capacity sa supply side issues. This can also be addressed by government. You're getting money from Philhealth and telling us that Philhealth lacks absorptive capacity. But the reason why it lacks absorptive capacity because it doesn't get full support from government, not only addressing expanding benefit, but also supply side requirements. So you're just providing an excuse to get this money out of Philhealth. No, when you speak of limitations in hospitals, I mean, you can inquire from our people, repeated complaints that they cannot even get PhilHealth benefits. And if they get PhilHealth benefits, it's so low that it cannot even cover substantially the amount expenses or medical expenses. So people will not understand the issue of absorptive capacity or supply side demand or requirements. So on the issue of why do you need to take this amount if the blame should be on PhilHealth because it could not provide for these benefits?
Your Honor, if I may. So after the order or the instruction to return the 89.9 billion, we have seen last year that PhilHealth has significantly accelerated the pace of benefit expansion, and they will continue to provide more benefits this year. So the issue in terms of the expansion of benefits is steadily being addressed.
Precisely that PhilHealth increases benefits because of public criticism arising from this, trying to get the 89.9 billion. They are now probably justifying, oh, we can do this. In fact, we're increasing the amount. Without public backlash, probably, I don't know if PhilHealth will increase its benefits.
That may be so, Your Honor, but all the same, I think for the Department of Finance, for the economic managers, what matters to us is the expansion of benefits. If there must be a stick that must be presented together with the carrot, then we shall, I think we are happy if we see more benefit for the Filipino people.
Now, let us now go to the collection, the subsidy. The subsidy that were given to PhilHealth were taken from the taxes, as mentioned earlier by Justice Ami, taxes from PAGCOR, etc. Now, when the budget for PhilHealth subsidy from government, how do you compute the proposal of PhilHealth for subsidy from government? Let us say for 2024, so may budget call in 2023. PhilHealth will have to prepare a budget, a request. For purposes of determining the subsidy that will be contributed by the government, what is your basis in determining the subsidy? Proposal to be submitted to the Office of the President for NEP.
Your Honor, if I may, I believe the exact process would be most familiar to DBM, but if you can allow me my basic understanding of the process. So PhilHealth during the budget deliberation period, they submit a proposed budget, and this proposed budget includes, number one, the number of beneficiaries.
No, initially, sa NEP pa lang. For purposes of preparing the NEP, the PhilHealth will submit to the Office of the President a budget. Part of that budget is the amount of subsidy for indirect contributors. How much do you ask for, and what was the basis for this amount?
Your Honor, if I may, I'm not familiar on the exact amount, but in terms of the process, I know I am to the best of my knowledge, the proposal of PhilHealth is put together with DOH. So it's a DOH budget submitted to DBM for evaluation.
No, the reason why I ask is, we have laws that allocate funds to answer for the subsidy of government to Philhealth. Mentioned earlier, sin taxes, etc. Now, do you know the actual collection of government corresponding to these taxes? And if you have computed this amount, do this equal to the amount PhilHealth requested Office of the President for purposes of subsidy for indirect contributors?
Your Honor, I do not have with me the exact certifications
I need to get an answer to this because this is in relation to the question of a special fund. Yung collection ng gobyerno sa mga taxes, PAGCOR, etc., for the year, ito rin ba ang hiningi ng PhilHealth sa Office ng President para doon sa subsidy ng indirect contributors? For me, it should be the same amount.
Patay itong bata ka. Nahirapan na yung
I
pagsagot.
believe our colleagues from
Patay.
PhilHealth
Wala na, nahirapan na pagsagot mga palangga.
DOH would be in a better
Nahirapan na.
position to answer this on the exact amounts, Your Honor.
Wala na, nahirapan na. Yan ang problema sa administrasyon ngayon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo from the Department of Health.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. To the question on how the PhilHealth computes its request for a budget, it does not refer to the computation on the syntax allocation. Instead, it counts the number of members based on a database. There is a database on indirect members, and then it generates a list. It enumerates the number. The exact number escapes me now, but this is the process. And then that number is submitted, multiplied by a factor, which is the premium rate, and then it is submitted to the Department of
So
Budget
therefore,
Management.
when you come up with your budget request for the subsidy, you don't actually consider the taxes being collected that Congress passed for purposes of subsidy for indirect contributors.
That is correct, Your Honor. The budget is computed based on the need.
So they're not following the law? You're not observing what the law requires?
Tay.
Your
Isa
Honor,
pa itong
budget
Department of
principles
Health
require that it's needs-based.
nagpapagamit
If
din sa
we will
administrasyon.
follow it based on the projected fund ceiling or availability, it might not match certain
Yes,
needs.
I agree. It's based on needs. But the problem there is PhilHealth limits the funding so that you don't address the needs, the health needs of the Filipino people.
Ayan,
If you increase
patay
budget
ka.
200%, and I don't think the Filipino would not avail
Yan ang
of that.
problema sa
You
Department.
define your own
Nagpapagamit
limits.
sa administrasyon.
Congress allocates budget or collects taxes, provides for collection of taxes to answer for the subsidy of PhilHealth for indirect contributors. Now, when you request money for subsidy, ang ibig mong sabihin, hindi mo papakailam yun? Hindi mo naiintindihin yun? Gagawa ka ng sarili mong formula because you have limited understanding there's a limited need of our people for health.
Hala.
Your Honor, the current administration agrees with your observation, which is why this particular case under litigation has been the signal it has been using to increase the benefits. Ang tagal na po, 10
So
taon.
therefore, if the current administration recognize that, very thank you. And therefore, they should bring back the money
Nasa na kay
back to
sinisisi
PhilHealth.
kay dating Pangulo.
Your Honor, the
Duterte.
reason why the administration recognized it because for the longest time, the corporation has thought it will always get money because of the guarantee of the
Oh,
syntax.
precisely, whatever would be, whatever is that. As long as the government recognize now, it is now incumbent on the part of the government to return
Tama.
the 60 billion that was transmitted already because it recognized now.
Yan.
Hindi lang na-recognize
Pagalitan mo,
before,
sir.
ngayon na-recognize na. So therefore, when you recognize it, You
Yan ang
should
problema
return
sa
it. What
Department
do you
of
think?
Health. Nagpapagamit
Your
sa
Honor, if it
administration.
pleases the court, Section 58, the sovereign guarantee, even without this maneuver of the 89.9, government can and always will increase the benefits. But the signal, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, that this litigation gave is a strong signal for it to do so.
So the court, the people, should now be satisfied by a strong signal from the administration.
Your Honor, it's not necessarily the administration, it is the fact that the research, the
You said
amounts...
the government.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So a strong signal from the government to help Philhealth and expand benefit should now be enough for our people to rely on.
This is the start, Your Honor. If the case is allowed to proceed, if the transfer is allowed to proceed, it is a use it or lose it signal, which all national government agencies have, so that we will use our funds. GOCCs like Philhealth do not have that signal, and they think, at least before the current CEO or the current administration, they think that just because there is an earmark, whether hard or soft, that they will get the money, and there is no stimulus for them to actually increase the benefits.
When you prepare this budget of yours for subsidy, why did you not consider the collection made by government, by BIR, on the sin taxes? What was the reason behind that?
Your Honor, mathematically, it's the premium rate. The way that the premium rate is determined, unfortunately, is not actuarially fair. It is not based on the spread of benefits that is due the Filipino people. Kulang po talaga yung binabayad ng PhilHealth. 10% lamang po in 2024. Kaya dapat po talaga taasan. And mathematically, the only way to do this is to increase the benefit packages, which we are doing now.
But the government collected taxes already, representing
tama.
supposedly the subsidy. Why would government not transmit
Kasi ang dami
everything
kasi
to PhilHealth as originally intended?
That is correct, Your Honor. Unfortunately, the receptacle to which the money
halos
can
lahat
be
po
transmitted
tayong
cannot
mga
handle
palangga
the
na
amount of money
nagbabayad
that is
sa
too
tax.
small.
So if it is correct, and the reason why it was not transmitted because of administrative matters or hindrances,
Naku,
you
grabe.
agree that this should go to PhilHealth. It's a matter of spending it. So therefore, when government merely allocated this amount, probably substantially lower from the taxes that were collected, all of the balance should be given to PhilHealth this year and prior years. It's just a matter of administrative absorption. Hindi lang kaya gastusin ng PhilHealth. Kung hindi kaya gastusin ng PhilHealth, ibigay sa PhilHealth at utusan ng PhilHealth, oy, taasan ninyo ang benefits nyo. Hoy, mag-hire kayo ng mga tao ninyo para magastos ito para sa health ng ating tao.
Your Honor, if I may, 3 presidente na po ng Republika ang dumaan simula noong 2013 hanggang 2023. At siguro mahigit 10 mga presidente ng korporasyon. Ganun po lagi ang utos pero hindi po nangyayari until now.
Probably it's time to overhaul PhilHealth and change the board
Ayan, oo.
for not complying what the law requires.
Ayan,
Hindi
pagalitan mo, sir.
kasalanan ng tao yan.
Yan, sir, pagalitan mo.
For not availing all of these
Kawawa
benefits.
naman yung mga
Apparently from
kababayan,
your own
nagbabayad ng
words,
tax.
kasalanan yan ng administrasyon,
Tama.
this administration, last administration, or the previous administration. At kasalanan yan ng PhilHealth Board. Huwag natin pahirapan yung tao because
Tama.
nandyan naman yung pera. The money is there, government will not giving it to PhilHealth to serve as health benefits for our people.
If I may, Your Honor, in fact, nung una pong oral arguments, iba po yung PCEO na humarap sa korting ito. At nung ikalawang oral arguments, ganun ho kabilis, inahuuli yung humarap na CEO. Kinokorek na po.
Okay, so that's maybe a good point from PhilHealth, but we cannot close our eyes for the past years na hindi nabigay in benefits. So in that case, maybe PhilHealth can already request the President to return the money, the 60 billion that were transmitted to PhilHealth, to the government for ANCRO program funds. Ibalik niya sa PhilHealth and PhilHealth to expand its benefits, hire more people to answer for the needs of the health of our people. That will be all. Thank you.
Pinamudmud na sa'yo. Thank you po mga palangga.
Please, if I may raise a a factual matter, Your Honor. I'd like the court to know that PhilHealth has not been actually disadvantaged by its not demanding the allocation from the syntax law. Because in fact, I have here the numbers, Your Honor. From 2013 to 2021, PhilHealth has actually been receiving subsidy from the GAA more than what it would have received under its allocation attributed from syntaxes, Your Honor. For instance, in 2014, the PhilHealth allocation attributed from syntax is only 22.71.5.34. So let us say in 2021, PhilHealth allocation attributed from syntaxes was 16.92 and the total PhilHealth subsidy was 80.24. So there is no truth, Your Honor, to the claim that yes, that's what I have here, Your Honor.
But you mentioned only syntaxes, but there are other sources of the subsidy aside from PAGCOR and etc. So when you total this, I would think it should be more than
by the way,
subsidy because
there is
government has limited funds. Kung ito lang yung collection under the law for subsidy, I doubt the government will allocate additional funds. So kukuha lang yan dun sa funds allocated under the law, whether PAGCOR, whether syntaxes, at dun lang kukunin yan. It could never be more than because government has limited resources. Saan niya kukunin yung balance?
These are numbers that I got from our Bureau of Treasury, Your Honors. And by the way, if I may mention, there is actually an interagency committee composed of the Department of Budget and Management, Department of Finance, Department of Health, PAGCOR, PCSO, and the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, created under Joint Circular Number